Bonjour. 6 more new editions this week that I've enjoyed. 2 DC, 2 Marvel, 2 Independents, so a nice little balance. First up, Batman. I know I've kind of gone into this one before, this run, but there's a backup story in there as well that's worth, just worth a little mention, having a little chat about. Second DC, Gotham City, obviously same Batman, but these Bat books are getting interesting. They're getting interesting. They're doing a nice job. They're over at DC on the Batman books. This little baby, this is my pick of the week. This one, Junkyard Joe. That's a great from Image. Great. This is the unusual pick for the week. Siren's Gate. More for the artwork, obviously stunning artwork. There's something really peculiar about that book that I'll go through it after the scroll, but something I haven't seen before. And then from that to the absolute traditional end, Spider-Man with Dan Slott back on Spider-Man. I mean, he'd done a 10-year run, so the boy should know how to write Spider-Man, shouldn't he? And then I've left this one to last. Obviously Marvel with Miracleman now. Somehow I still have it in my head that it's an independent because of its checkered publishing history. But what I didn't realise when I picked this up and I was reading through it is that Garry Leach, who was the artist on this first of all back in the day, had died. I didn't know, and I know it was way back in March when I looked it up. It was way back in March. So what I'm going to be doing at the end of this week's, I'm going to get through all the 6 of the latest. But what I will be doing at the end of it is just a little tribute to Garry Leach, because he's one of those artists that I did kind of grow up with from 2000 AD in the UK. I remember him mostly. He did Future Shocks and stuff, but I remember him mostly on the VCs. Now I've got the original issues, but it's going to be easier for me just to leaf through this. It was sharing art duties with another artist when they was doing it, because it was obviously weekly comics. But anyway, we'll get into that. And obviously Warrior. We're going to go through the first issue of a UK comic called Warrior, where Miracleman, the first story by Alan Moore, kicked off. In the same issue of issue 1 of Warrior was when V for Vendetta kicked off, among many others. But I'm just going to pay my respects to Garry Leach, superb artist, and let's get going on it. Okay guys, we're starting with Batman this week. Like I say, I have recommended this one in the last issue. This is part 4 of Failsafe. Chip Zdarsky on the writing again as usual, George Jimenez on the artwork, and Tomio Mori on the colouring. But it still continues to be a properly, Justice League area. It continues to be a properly good read. By just writers and artists, colourists, letterers, they're just all at the top of their game, and the guys, please, the idea of these reviews is to get you all back. I say get you all, if you, to get all of the people like me that were ignoring this fantastic stuff. Look, just traditional good superhero fare. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Why in the past few years has it become so hard to just deliver this? These guys make it look so easy, but I'm loving it. And this Failsafe thing, like I say, I don't like giving too many spoilers away, but what a formidable opponent, and just going through everyone, putting everyone up to the test. Like, I'm flicking through this because obviously I've been through it before, but I can't stop recommending it enough. a lot of the Bat books. Looking forward to this as well. Just a quick aside, because I think you can trust you know you can trust DC with these Bat books. I know I'm looking at adverts now rather than what's going on, but I don't, like I say, I don't want to get, you know, you can guess where he's going, what's gonna happen. Now I'm gonna stop it there, because there'll probably be a couple of, well, not really, I suppose. Well, obviously Aquaman is part of Justice League and all the rest of it, but look, this is just all classic stuff. Love it, just love it. And I'm really enjoying the book. Now, like I said, it's this. Sorry, I skipped a what's it in. Just look at this artwork. Now, you could, at first glance, think, "Oh my God, you know, the old backup story." But I'm really enjoying the backup stories in Detective and this one, where they're giving either a writer or an artist a little chance. The story's by Chip Zdarsky again, but the artwork's by Leonardo Romero. Jordan Belair is on the colouring, and he colours the next comic that's coming up, which is Gotham City. So top guys, but the style was suiting the stories is this being told. Just bear with me. But look how the Batman's, like, he's changing his style to match the era of the Batmans. They're really having some fun with this story. They really are having some fun. So you go from the Ultron-like story of Failsafe at the beginning, and then you've just got a nice, you know, this is almost Dave Gibbons, I thought, in its style. Just this. I just thought it was Dave Gibbons. But it's done intentionally. It's, you know, it's nice stuff. Really did enjoy this. You know, come on, Dark Knight Returns fans, Frank Miller fans, look at this. That reminds me of the guy who did Year One, Mazzucchelli. And what a mashup of styles! Look, what a mashup of styles! It was a delight. It was a delight. And part one of a story, Shattered Smile, next. It's only a backup story, so I'm not too bothered about giving you spoilers on that one. But it just backs up what I'm saying about the Bat books. About the Bat books, can't praise them enough at the moment, to be fair. And I don't read every single comic from DC, but I have been going into the Bat books, the main two, a couple of the White Knight ones, and now this one. This is another issue. This is an issue, first issue one from this week. Tom King on the writing, Phil Hester. Now, obviously, I'm calling it a Bat book because it's set in Gotham, but obviously, as you can imagine, these stories aren't anything to do with Batman. Well, or they're on the fringes. And this one, great artwork by Phil Hester, as usual. His style suits a particular type of story, and this noir private eye detective story is what Phil Hester's artwork suits. Inks by Eric Gapster, and like I said, Geordie Belair on the colours. Just a subdued palette for the colours. A lot of narration, but it's a hard-boiled detective story. So that's what, you know, this is when Wayne Manor was new, you know, back in set in 1961, and it really did remind me of a lot of noir stuff. Even the intro to Constance Wayne reminded me of the noir film, a really famous one where the bloke's lying down in the pool, dead at the beginning. Sunset Boulevard. There we go. I got it before I had to drop a card in to remind me. Reminding me of that. Then there's a lot of different noir elements in this. So if you're up for your noir, which I am, which is why I enjoyed this comic, then this is for you. It's a slow burn, to be sure, because you haven't got no back characters in it, and it is just a private eye story, but it's giving you little bits towards the end, and obviously it's set in Wayne Manor, so you've got the links there, but it is so you know, if you want a superhero story, don't bother getting this, but this is a very, very nicely done. Like I say, these guys, again, top of their game. Look at this. This is great. That is pure noir. Love it. Just absolutely love it. And this as well. And then Bosch. Just the colouring, that Geordie Belair. What a nice job. Just a great. Everyone's just doing nice jobs on this. Look. And it, like I say, it's pure pulpy, you know, back in the day. Oopsie, look, yay. So that's the two DC ones, two back books. Now normally I would leave the Star of the Week to the end, but because of the what I want to do for Garry Leach, this is the best. This is a really great read. Junkyard Joe, Jeff Johns. If you don't know who Jeff Johns is, then you'll have to Google him, because I can't go through the list of stuff that he's done for Marvel, DC. Particular for me, he's run on Flash, and particular for me, anything else he did for DC. Actually, his Marvel work was obviously great, but his DC work for those characters was absolutely stunning. Now this is obviously creator owned stuff. Junkyard Joe by creator owned by Jeff Johns, writer Gary Frank, artist, and Brad Anderson's on the colouring. Now, been a long while since I've seen some Gary Frank artwork, and I know I've got a big gap in my knowledge, like I keep saying, over the past few years. But you know, the Squadron Supreme and Supreme Force, whatever it was called, for Marvel back in, I really did enjoy them, and as you well know, I do go heavy on the artists, but nevertheless, you know, it doesn't diminish that you need the writing. This is set in Vietnam, just a pure setting up our main character and his adventures in Vietnam. 2 days. Look, beautiful stuff. Look at this. Nice. There's such a mashup of. There were bits of that reminded me of Forrest Gump from his Vietnam story. There's bits like that previous picture that reminded me of Universal Soldier when it begun. The original film, if you remember, when that was in Vietnam. And then here's the Junkyard Joe of the title. That's his intro. Halfway through, just paced well. Look, it looks like a war comic as I'm flicking through the pages, I'm sure. But don't be put off by thinking it is a war comic. This is just the setup. This is just the backstory without showing it in a flashback. They're just doing that linear storytelling format. And this is the title character, but you're not getting a lot from him, but a lot happens. A lot happens in this. Look, it's action packed, just a great setup, a great read, and the artwork on it absolutely stunning from Gary Frank. The best artwork I've seen him do, I think. Perhaps where it's creator owned and he's loving it. It's just really, and again, colouring, Brad Anderson. Just in these scenes, especially, look, the more you look at it, the more you look at this, and it's kind of blurred out a bit, where it's like the moon. It's like a moon. It's really, it's beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. You know, without these colourists being on the ball. Look at this, nice. And in his eyes, look at the tiny pricks of light in his eye, pinpricks of light in his eyes. Loving it. Well, that is my, and this was sweet at the back. Now, obviously, because it was a war story, so to speak, and they're being respectful of the veterans and veterans' dedications. I thought this was really nice. The creators of the book are giving you their members of the family that done some service, and I thought this is really nice. I thought this is a really nice little touch. Yeah, just served in all different theatres of war, and yeah, just a real nice touch. Why not? And this as well. Why not? For the Veterans Aid. And apparently, I'll give a shout out to the fact that, and I didn't know this until I read this today, that there's a special black and white Veterans edition, and all the proceeds from that issue go to the vets. Now, I'm based in the UK, but I'm not bothered what vet. You know, they're doing a good thing, so I'll be asking my comic shop to get me a black and white copy, because I'd love to see some of Gary Frank's. Actually, I just had that idea. Why not do a comparison, the black and white artwork of Gary Frank against, you know, Brad Anderson's colouring, and see actually what it does bring to the. Now this one is it's one of the most peculiar comics I've come across, and that is saying something. Now, Shannon Meyer, he normally does covers, and mostly for Dynamite, but not just for them. Stunning. There's a photorealism to his. It reminds me of the airbrush artists of what would you be saying? The 70s, yeah, just the early 70s, maybe mid 70s. The airbrush work that they would be doing, and his artwork is stunning. His cover artwork is stunning. Now, when we get inside, and it's written and artwork, everything by him, and obviously colouring, because he's doing like fully painted kind of artwork. What this is reminding me of is those photos comic strips. It's just, sorry about the glare on some of these dark pages. Look at that. You know, it's nice. The artwork, you can't fault it. The photorealism and the way they've done the words makes it look like it's one of those photo comic strips. Which made me chuckle a little bit, but the story does romp along. I'll say the artwork is stronger. I mean, look, you know, if you like your girl sexing in lingerie, you know, you're in for a treat kind of thing. But we kind of knew that with Dynamite anyway, didn't we? And the cover and Shannon Meyer involved. But I'm not saying it's a crap story. I'm just saying you're getting this more for the artwork, but as you can see, he's a cover artist. This is all getting quite repetitive. You know, this is repetitive. This is unnecessary. But looks gorgeous, and the story's fairly decent. But then it does change up. That's why I'm saying give it a chance. I gave it a chance, and I was glad I did, because the story suddenly does change up. I do apologise if that is too dark, but you know, you're getting the gist of it. And we meet this character towards the end, and it sets up. It kind of then picks up the pace, and then gives you crack. Oh my god! And it gives you, look at this. Oh, this is probably a very, very spoilery issue I'm doing. I don't normally do that, but I had to show this because this is gorgeous. You know, after all that photorealism, to get some of this is great. You know, he's showing his talent. Look at that. Look at that. I hope you can get like the full gist of that. Beautiful. So it really does. Give it a chance. What you're going to get is beautiful artwork, without a doubt. But like I say, I gave the story a chance, and I'm glad I did. But it's still, nevertheless, even that, you know, just kind of reminds me of some cheesy, you know, photo comic strip. So from that, weird and wonderful, we come smack back down to a very traditional, a very, I'm not going to say standard, because that makes it sound like, you know, there's nothing wrong with standard if you're at the level of Dan Slott and Mark Bagley, because these guys, Dan Slott particularly, done a 10-year run on Spider-Man. So if that bloke can't tell you a Spider-Man story, now obviously they've numbered it number 1, and that's an ideal place for me to jump on board with this book. If they'd numbered it 157, I probably wouldn't have bothered. But I like this legacy numbering now. I'm really enjoying that. And here we go. Now, in a Spider-Man number 1, you can't get much more standard than that. But bear with it, and it is setting up all of the standard fare, but you kind of realise at the end why they've set it up in such a standard Spider-Man way, especially by giving a first page origin story. I mean, I can't, you know, roll my eyes every time I either watch or listen to or read another Spider-Man origin story. It's the same origin story. Oh, here we go. I was cool. But no, I'm only joking, because this is just a good romp of a Spider-Man story, and it gets going very quickly. Dan Slott knows how to sow his oats, I tell you. And so Mark Bagley obviously on the pencils, John Dell on the inks, and a shout out to Edgar Delgado on the colours, because there's a lot going on in every page. This is nice. This is nice because obviously you can start guessing now, can't you? Spider-Verse. Now, and that's another thing that makes me roll my eyes, but I'm giving this one a chance. I've looked at the other Spider-Verse books, and nah, there we go. Nice. It's just nice stuff. This is all. I'll say it again. Traditional. This is a traditional Spider-Man comic, but it's not. It's all the better for it. This is what we want, isn't it? Look, he's trying to beat up the villain. No, he needs some help. When's he going to get the help? Oh my God, no, Spider-Man's in trouble. You know, when's he going to get the help? No, he's being beaten up, smashed against a car. Look, just before the... Here we go. Now we're in the Spider-Verse with all the other characters. Off we go. There we go. Dan Slott, Mark Bagley, and I'll leave it... Oh no, there's one more. Look, so you've got this. This is nice. That what do they used to call it? Duotone, and they've even done it rough, because I'm pretty sure in this day and age you could have got it more, more in the, you know, neater than all this. But just that duotone bleeding out and all around here, and you're going into a different way. That's the bit I like. I like those bits. You know, as much as I roll my eyes with the Spider-Verse stuff. And anyway, I'll leave it there. Good number 1 to jump onto. If you've been out of the loop, of the loop for a while, thoroughly recommend that. And here we go. This must be the star of the show. Not my favourite comic of the week, but it must be the star of the show as far as releases go. Leading up to, this is an issue 0. But the big release obviously is going to be the first issue of Miracleman with, you know, Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham back on it. Now Neil Gaiman does the bookending story, the beginning and the end bit, and in the middle of the book is the stories that Miracleman is reading in this Neil Gaiman library. He does love a library, doesn't he, that boy? I'd like his writing, don't worry, I'm not slating him. So then we go into this story. And there's a couple of stories here on in the peripheries. Obviously, Big Ben, one of his enemies from yesteryear. So it's giving you, it's all different writers, artists. You know, it's just a little anthology of short stories, and I'm a sucker for a good anthology because I've been brought up on British comics, I suppose, and they were all anthologies. And it is beginning to become, I think, a lost art. The art of short storytelling. It's difficult to condense a story. This was a really nice one. Sorry, Mike Carey, I think. Yeah, Mike Carey. And I love this. Right Droid, Art Droid, Colour Droid. Like 2000 AD used to do all this. I wonder if that is a nod. I really do wonder if that is a nod to 2000 AD. And obviously Garry Leach, who sadly died this year, who was the artist on the first issue of the first story of the Resurrected, the Alan Moore story in Warrior, so the first Miracleman issue, which, you know, the Americans will know in full colour, but I'm going to show you how good Garry Leach's artwork was in black and white. As much as I'm loving the colourists of some of these stories, this was unusual to see Peach Momoko. I don't think I've seen much of their work inside books, but like I say, I've got a big gap in my, but this was just nice to break it up and give us and it had a nice punchy little ending. Like I say, you don't see a lot of Miracle. These were quite funny actually. Ty Templeton does these little strips. It's like a Simpsons looking one there, I thought. And anyway, they were good, just like one sketch, just like jokey sketches. Now this was the best one by far. Jason Aaron and Lionel Francis Yu, obviously another two guys. If you haven't heard of Jason Aaron, and you know, just done tons and tons and tons for Marvel, Avengers, and God knows what else they've done together, those two. And this was more of this was still on the fringes of the Miracleman universe, so to speak. Like I say, try not to give too much away story wise. Just try and show you a little flavour. You know, just the classic stuff here. Nice. His artwork will never ever let you down. And then obviously, little bookend by Neil Gaiman, and wow, this just stunned me. This news, and it was really nice, dedicating it to Garry Leach. And I mean, there was the Marvel and DC issues of where they was dedicating them to Neil Adams, and who was the other one that sadly passed? But it was just really nice that they've done this, and just setting us up for Silver Age issue 1. So Mark Buckingham back, Neil Gaiman back. This will be a fantastic. It'll be a fantastic read. So, leading on from that, I just want to do a quick homage to why I felt really sad when that day, you know, I found that news out today, because it takes me back to the first time I would have seen Garry Leach's artwork. Now, it would have been in 2008, a comic in the UK called 2000 AD. And although he done a few what they called future shocks, it was this story I remember him from, the VCs, and it's like a sci-fi war story. They're the vacuum cleaners, and they get sent in. These characters, they get sent in to do the dirty work, basically. And I just always thought, even as a kid, I would have been reading this. I just thought his artwork was stunning, very Bolland-esque, but his artwork, and I mean that in the detail and the shadowing. I loved his use of duotone, because don't forget, when this would have been printed on really cheap, on really cheap stock, and you know, using all your tools available, your duotones and all that. He had like I say, had a Bolland-esque style, but he had a bit more fluidity to it. Where sometimes Bolland could be a detailed and awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm in no way slating Bolland's work, but I'm just, you know, if you're going to make the comparison, then there's, you know, Garry Leach's work was the fluidity of it. He was sharing art because it was weekly, and you had to deliver this artwork 5 or 6 pages weekly. Cam Kennedy was doing the next week's artwork, so let's flip forward to. I remember the way he did these aliens, and there was something about, you know, like I say, suiting up, the way he did these aliens, and his, you know, a lot of dark artwork there. Oh, I missed the page there. Why is it only 3 page? Oh no, yeah. Sorry, that was just after. That was because they'd inserted a story in between. Just this stuff, pure, you know, just pure Garry Leach. He was always in the shadows, and I loved it. He did a few Dread stories, but I don't know what you think about how glorious this artwork looks in black and white. And for me, it does. He's just one of those artists whose work somehow looks better in black and white. Maybe it's because he uses the heavy shading, and he's used these duotone, which obviously, you know, it was very hard to use back in the day, but he makes good effect of it. He makes a good use of it. Just, yeah, lovely artwork. Lovely. See, that reminds me of Bolland. You know that famous picture with Dread in Blockmania? I think it was a cover. And I only realised that after I was looking at his artwork, you know, to do this short little memorial to him. You know, it's very, very Bolland-esque, but I'm not saying he copied his style or anything. He had a style all of his own, and years, bearing in mind this story would have been published in the early 80s, and I've remembered it. I remembered it when Miracleman come out. I remember Garry Leach as a good artist. This is what I mean about the fluidity of his storytelling, you know, against what, if you're going to compare him to Bolland, then Cam Kennedy comes in for a week, and then he's back again. This was towards the end of the, you know, coming towards the end of the story. The bad guy turns up, obviously modelled on the actor Charles Lawton. God, I'm remembering all the names today. I'm doing well. And yeah, it was good stuff. The VCs, 2000 AD, and yeah, there was that's the Cam Kennedy, and then we get into the end of the run of the VCs, the story. So this is just obviously more of the, look at this, you know, this the black he uses in his is just marvellous. No, just it always stood out. Look at this, beautiful stuff, all of it. It's all beautiful stuff. Like I say, the fluidity of it as well. So that's his VC stuff. Now we're going to move on just to the other one that you know, as soon as I heard, and apologies because this is a big, you bought these binders for Warrior back in the day. 1982 this is now. First issue. Look who it ain't. V for Vendetta is in this issue as well, the first ever. This is lovely pin up by Garry Leach. Look at that, just wonderful artwork, beautiful artwork. And this is obviously Alan Moore's, this is the first outing of, sorry, I do apologise, this is just the first outing of Marvelman or Miracleman. And look at this lovely stuff with this duotone to add grey to normal black and white, all the different tones of grey, just to liven it up. because you're on this, you know, you're on this paper. Look, it takes ages just so you can white out. This doesn't work unless you're going to have something in the background, and you can cross hatch it till you know, till the end of time. And obviously everyone's familiar with this, and obviously non-UK readers may be more familiar with the colour, the full colour stuff. But I think Garry Leach's artwork, again, look at this stuff in this duotone in the background, or two, whatever it is it's called. This was nice as well, with the just giving you the background of Miracleman. And you know, this was obviously before the copyright wars for it. You know, I am Miracleman, love it. I'd just love to have a copy of this. You know, I just love just having this comic without in it, before it had to be changed to Miracleman. And this is all the background. You know, these guys love their stuff. They loved it. Dave Gibbons, this is issue, you know, like I say, 1982. So this is pre-Watchmen. Just a little sci-fi story. Now you've got John Bolton artwork, and again, this isn't used to such good effect, but I think this may have been reprinting a colour story, maybe, or this may have been printed in black and white, colour painted, because I know he did a lot of colour painted stuff for Epic. I say a lot. And then he done Black Knight for Epic Comics, and in the Epic magazine. Look at this, V for Vendetta. This is just quickly before I move back on to more Garry Leach. And what I said last week about the one of the artists who was using this similar style where you don't outline. Look, the shading just ends, and David Lloyd did it first. There he is, doing it. V for Vendetta. And the other one I just want to direct everyone's attention to. Apologies again for moving because it's a big old tome to handle. Is the Walksmith. So Alan Davis was doing Miracleman by now, and Garry Leach is doing an Alan Moore Walksmith story. This was in issue 10, so you know, nearly a year later. I believe that's Garry Leach painted. Could be wrong, but what I wanted to show again is even more so with this, with the duotone stuff, pure Garry Leach on all the facial expressions, etc. And look at this stuff doesn't work. Look how well this works with the duotone in the background. You can see here where he's kind of right. I don't know whether this would have been an editorial thing, or I don't know what kind of choices were made here, but it works against, you know, this pure white works against the different levels of duotone, rather than doing lines, you know, black and white lines. Look, I mean, this is nearly black, you know. Imagine trying to colour that. Add colour to that. It just wouldn't work. So anyway, that was just a small homage to leave you with the. I believe that is Garry Leach. I'll just leave you with that and an image of V for Vendetta. And if you did enjoy that, then please like, subscribe, share, comment. Let's have some comments. You know, what did you think? What do you think of Miracleman? Are you looking forward to it? Did you get Warrior back in the day? I know it's a very UK based thing, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing, if you didn't know, I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit of the inner workings of it all. So on that note, I will bid everyone adios.